Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hi, Killian.
Hi.
AmericaSpace.com.
Jay Summers, very glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So, what are we looking at here?
This is our Support Operations Center. From here we can not just monitor our DoD unique channels to the ship, the USS Anchorage, that's going to be supporting EFT-1,
Okay.
but we're also tied in to our higher headquarters at Joint Forces Combat Command Space out at Vandenberg Air Force Base and at US STRATCOM headquarters in Nebraska. So in addition to our DoD unique channels that we have available on our consoles, we also are tied into all of the mission loops that NASA is using for this mission. From the flight director, trajectory control, the engineering loops, all of that is available to our controllers here to monitor and make inputs if necessary. On the ship itself, where I'll be for the actual recovery of the capsule, we're going to have a smaller subset of those, basically only going to be able to have 2 of those loops up at any one time that we will cycle through depending on where we are in the evolution.
Okay. Now, this isn't going to be a fully manned station for launch.
For launch, for this unmanned, our unit is really for human spaceflight for the manned launches, but we're setting the stage for our support later for EM2, which will be our first manned launch. So we'll have 4 folks in here that'll be reporting back to the ship where I'll be and up to US STRATCOM and Joint Force JFCC Space.
Okay.
So
Now,
this is really the hub.
when Orion does launch eventually with crew on the SLS,
Yes.
what will be going on differently in here?
Actually, we'll just have more folks. We'll have the doc in here. We'll have a SAR coordinator, medical, logistics, a full support team here to answer any of the questions should something go awry that would involve a contingency, say. So if it didn't land where it's supposed to, or landed short, landed long,
Okay.
then we would be able to affect a DoD support to NASA for that contingency.
Yep. Now, on the ship, for the recovery operations, how is that going to work with you involved specifically?
For our unit, we're here just to support the nominal, what NASA calls nominal
Okay.
operations. So we'll have myself as for the DoD comm side. We have some logistics and hazards safety folks on board that are in our unit.
Okay.
And we have some, our naval officer will also be on board to act as a liaison, kind of the buffer between the NASA team and the actual USS Anchorage ship team.
Okay.
We speak both NASA and DoD, so we can kind of translate what it is each of the parties wants or needs
So
to have
you're
happen.
kind of the bridge.
Yeah, exactly. We're the honest broker between NASA with their wants and desires and versus what DoD can provide.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Mike McClure. I'm the commander of the 45th Ops Group Detachment 3, also known as the Department of Defense Human Spaceflight Support Office. And this is Lieutenant Colonel Jason Havel. He is the division chief for our commercial crew division here at Detachment 3.
Okay.
So happy to have you and glad to answer your questions.
Thank you. We're glad to be here. Let's start with Orion EFT-1 for next week. Now,
Is it next week?
Navy is doing all the recovery stuff, but so is the Air Force. Can you talk a little bit about how the Air Force is supporting the recovery operation specifically?
Certainly. This unit is an Air Force unit, and its primary responsibility is to be the liaison for NASA to the Department of Defense. So when NASA needs something from the DoD that it can't provide itself, and it can't provide or it can't secure affordably through commercial means, then it comes to the Department of Defense and seeks that capability. We go and scour the Jane's aircraft and the Jane's ship manuals, and we find the right capability to meet their requirement. And then we go and participate in the scheduling process for that asset or that unit. And once we secure them on a schedule, then we train those forces for whatever the unique mission is that NASA needs them to do. In this case, the NASA needed some kind of vessel to pick up the capsule from the Pacific Ocean. It's not going to splash down in San Diego Harbor, so they needed a ship to go out into the deep water and provide a recovery capability. NASA used to have a ship that would pick up things from the ocean, but they no longer have them, and even if they did, it would not be able to do it for this capsule because of its size and shape. So they came to us and they said, we need help from the Department of Defense. We need a ship to go do it. And the unit over the past several years has been engaged with the Navy and the other services to find the right combat capability to do exactly that mission. We settled on a San Antonio class amphibious assault ship. It's a well deck, so basically it's like a ocean-going pickup truck.
Sure.
What
would you say?
An ocean-going pickup truck. The ship that we're using for EFT-1 is the USS Anchorage. It's the LPD-23 is its ship number. It is, I forget which ship in that series. LPD-17 was the first, so it's the 7th or so of that series. It's a fairly new ship type. Its mission is ship-to-shore delivery of Marines and combat capability.
Okay.
So, but it's like a giant pickup truck. So it goes out into the water, it ballasts down into the water, it opens up its tailgate, its stern gate, and it delivers LCAT or landing craft air cushion hovercraft, giant hovercraft will be loaded up with tanks and trucks and other equipment, and it'll deliver it from the ship to the shore during wartime or military operations. They have a procedure to recover an LCAT into the ship if it doesn't have its own power, and that's the procedure that we've based the recovery of the spacecraft on, is a dead LCAT recovery. So simplistically, you attach a cable to the spacecraft and winch it in to the well of the ship, deballast, drain the water out, and there's your capsule recovered safely. That's a very simplistic view of what's going on. The spacecraft obviously has hazardous chemicals and materials that are associated with spaceflight. So the first thing we're going to have to do is assess the hazardous materials, make sure that it's safe to operate on and around.
That would be Air Force personnel responsible for doing that?
Nope, we've secured a team of Navy divers who are going to be doing that. Now our Air Force personnel have trained them what to do. So we have a space hazmat specialist here in this unit.
So it's the Air Force that trained the Navy personnel to perform the recovery operations.
Exactly. That's exactly the role of this unit. Once we determine what ship and what crew is going to do the mission, we train them for that mission specifically. So our space hazmat specialist has been talking to and training the Navy divers and the ship's crew for all of the hazardous materials that will be around or in the spacecraft.
How long did that training roughly take?
We've been training off and on for about the past 18 months. As a matter of fact, just last week, we conducted our final briefings out in San Diego, and Master Sergeant John T. Payton is our space hazmat specialist. He gave a very high-level briefing to fairly senior Navy leaders about the spacecraft, the hazardous materials, and the procedures that they're going to employ to recover it.
Now, most of the Air Force training the Navy personnel for this took place in San Diego.
A lot of it took place in San Diego. We've conducted multiple training operations down at NASA's Neutral Buoyancy Lab in Houston, a million-gallon swimming pool from all the movies. We do a lot of diver and small boat training there to simulate. They have a capsule, a mock-up capsule down at the NBL in Houston, so they can actually get in the pool in Zodiac boats and actually put hands on a training device. The only thing that it can't really simulate is the weather conditions.
Sure.
You can't create waves and wind in the pool, but you can simulate the spacecraft and the hardware that you use to attach to it, and all of the procedures that will be employed to analyze the hazards associated with it, and then effect the recovery.
Okay. Now, of course, NASA's not going to launch this mission if the weather off the coast of California is bad, but anything could happen. There might be rough seas, a cable might snap, or, what would happen in a scenario where something went wrong trying to recover the Orion? On the Air Force side, is there anything in place contingency-wise that you can go into detail?
Well, this team is trained, the divers, the ship's crew, the small boats, all of the operators that'll be conducting the recovery operation for a variety of contingency possibilities. One of those includes more significant weather than a nominal launch day.
Sure.
So obviously the weather here in Florida could be radically different than the weather off the West Coast in the recovery area. I hesitate to say that NASA isn't really concerned about the recovery weather, but we've trained the divers and the small boats and the ship and the recovery crew to operate in seas up to about 2.5 meters.
Okay.
So, roughly 6 to 8 foot seas are the conditions that they have rehearsed the recovery procedure in. So as long as the weather is within those constraints, then it's something that they've already seen and experienced. If the weather exceeds that, then it'll be a day of launch determination on the part of NASA and Lockheed, who are conducting the flight test, and the recovery team out in the Pacific Ocean. We'll be talking, we'll have all the comm channels open. We'll relay to the launch team what the recovery weather is, and they'll make the decision. But it's up to them.
Okay.
And if they decide to go ahead and go with the launch, then we've got...
You guys will be ready.
We'll be ready to go.
Now here at the Cape, launch side, if you want to just go into specifics, just a general summary of how you guys are also supporting the launch here, not just the splash.
The 45th Space Wing is America's premier gateway to space. They are very well rehearsed at putting NASA, commercial, and DoD payloads into space. They do it multiple times a year. That is not our responsibility. We are only responsible for recovery of astronauts and spacecraft that involve manned spaceflight. So I couldn't really answer specific questions about the launch portion of this mission.
Is there anything support-wise that you guys will be doing different because it is in support of human spaceflight, as opposed to a GPS that goes up or an ISS cargo launch? Not pretty much just standard, same operating procedures for you guys.
Not for EFT-1.
Okay.
Now the next launch of the Orion spacecraft is going to be EM-1, Exploration Mission 1. It's an uncrewed mission in 2017-2018 timeframe. Although it will be unmanned, we are going to provide some kind of a launch DoD presence, because they're going to have the launch abort system activated for that mission. They don't plan to test it during EM-1. A test of the launch abort system will be conducted sometime in 17 or 18 as well. But we'll provide some kind of a launch abort coverage during EM-1. Not for EFT-1. EFT-1, this unit is only responsible for the recovery portion of the mission.
Okay.
Just to kind of give you an idea of the time frame that we're talking about, so Colonel McClure talked about EM-1. Well, nothing happens without paperwork in place, right?
Yeah.
So we have a liaison officer at Strategic Command in Omaha, Nebraska, that is currently working on the orders portion that will task the DoD to support EM-1, and that orders process is in the work right now for a mission that will happen in 2016-2017.
Okay, so we've got commercial crew are going to be launching before NASA starts launching SLS. What are you guys doing? We're still, a couple years away from the first crew launching on a SpaceX or Boeing capsule, but time flies. What's going on in preparation, Air Force-wise, to support humans launching from here again?
The big milestones are late 2016, early 2017 is when we're expecting the first launches to come from SpaceX and Boeing. Those times are still kind of in negotiation.
Sure.
A lot of equipment is still being developed on both sides, equipment and procedures as well. So we're in the process, Detachment 3 is in the process of coordinating with those two manufacturers and NASA's Commercial Crew Program Office, which is located at Johnson Space Center, and they also have a footprint at Kennedy Space Center. We're coordinating with them to make sure they're in charge of the commercial providers. We're in charge of providing DoD support to those commercial providers.
Okay.
So it's us, it's kind of a unique relationship in the fact that we're working through NASA with those two commercial providers to make sure that DoD is up to speed with what is expected of the DoD, and also to provide our expertise to the commercial providers.
I'm not sure if you're going to be referencing how things were done during Apollo and Shuttle. I'm sure some of both will go into the planning procedures for commercial crew, in case, of course we hope you don't have to do anything, but is there anything that you can talk about what you think a typical day would be like when a SpaceX Dragon capsule launches to the space station for the first time?
Well, what the DoD has been tasked for is when that capsule is in flight and prior to docking with the International Space Station, we'll have DoD forces on alert to support any kind of contingency where they would have to either they don't make it to orbit, or they are forced to come back from an orbit before they've docked. We'll have forces ready to go, and then once the capsule undocks from the station and all the way down to landing, we'll have forces on alert as well for that.
Okay.
So the commercial providers are responsible for the nominal recovery. So if everything goes according to plan, the DoD won't be alerted. We'll be ready, but we're not expecting to be alerted in a perfect scenario. Now, if they have some kind of contingency, then NASA, we would expect that NASA would call on the DoD to support further plan that we're putting together.
But you guys are already in touch with, like you said, SpaceX, Boeing, and the wheels are rolling.
The wheels are rolling,
okay.
Absolutely.
Now you mentioned the support, the PJs, traditionally we know the Guardian Angel Airmen, but Mike, you had mentioned earlier that it's not always the PJs. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I expect that our standard footprint would probably be a C-17 with a PJ alert team and all of the equipment that's required, the Zodiac boats and whatever they would deploy in an airdrop scenario to support a capsule that splashes down during launch abort or during a descent contingency landing. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a PJ team.
Okay.
If for some reason the Guardian Angel teams are extremely tasked due to contingency operations overseas,
sure,
then we can reach out and secure other DoD capabilities that are similar,
such as SEALs,
SEALs or Navy divers, as long as they have a water and land capability matched with some medical capability.
Okay.
So ideally, pararescuemen would be the ideal force for that, Guardian Angel teams, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Yeah, we're currently in the process of trying to find out what forces would have that kind of capability. So a very natural fit would be the Department of Homeland Security and the United States Coast Guard, as far as having the capability to jump on a capsule and provide assistance to the astronauts. But we're very early in the planning process. Nobody has been tasked for that yet. We're just putting a plan together.
Sure.
What we want to do is ensure that we can always provide that type of capability and that type of contingency coverage. And if you pigeonhole it into one type of team or one type of asset or unit, then you have limited the available options. So we need to make sure that any potential team has those basic capabilities. But as long as they have those basic capabilities, there's no reason that we shouldn't at least have the discussion or be prepared to task them for future support. The last time the Department of Defense recovered a spacecraft from the open ocean was 1975. That was an Apollo-Soyuz capsule, an Apollo's capsule that was on an Apollo-Soyuz mission. 1975, the recovery was conducted by the USS New Orleans. That ship has since been decommissioned. There's another New Orleans out there now, which is one of the LPD-17 class ships. So it's now a sister ship to the ship that's conducting the recovery for us this time.
Really?
But 1975 was the last time we did this. And since then, during the shuttle era, the shuttle came back and landed on a landing runway someplace. Either here at Central Florida or one of numerous alternate landing locations. So there was no need for the Department of Defense to provide a recovery capability. We provided some alert capability, helicopters and Guardian Angel teams, things like that, at the alternate landing sites. But that footprint was significantly different from what we're currently tasked to do.
Just curious, I know a lot of viewers will be too. What are your guys, each of you, your personal thoughts about this next step? Finally, a week away from becoming a reality, even though we don't have people on it yet, we're still in support of deep space human exploration. How does it feel to be supporting it?
I mean, I think
It's pretty exciting. I mean, it's a NASA mission. We're here to support. I'd like to think that we're offering the level of support that's expected of the DoD, and I think we'll come through for what the user is looking for.
Sure.
But yeah, personally excited that it's happening.
How about you, Mike?
I think at some point every kid thinks about, dreams about, yearns to be an astronaut or be involved in a space program.
Yeah.
I think without being an astronaut, this is like the next best thing. Is being involved in the recovery of the spacecraft, and all the training and meetings and briefings that lead up to that are although necessary, they really get us where we need to be. So it's been a lot of work. It's been a long time coming, and I'm really proud of the men and women of Detachment 3 because they've really done a great job.
Yeah, but you have an estimate of just a number of personnel, Air Force-wise, on your guys' side that have worked to support this? Is it hundreds?
Air Force-wise, I would say that it's been the folks assigned to this unit.
Detachment 3.
Detachment 3. Over the course of the past 6 to 8 years, as Orion became a formal program and continued through to today, I'd say that total is probably around 50 folks.
Really?
We have several long-term civilian folks that have been here for a few years, and then our military folks come in and they're here for 2 to 4 years at a time. So over the past 6 to 8 years, I'd say the total number of folks that have come through or been assigned to this unit is probably somewhere between 40 and 50, just a guess.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very much, thank you.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.